Today on Top Gear Rearview, Geoff doesn't like it.
No.
Geoff kind of likes it.
Maybe.
Geoff really doesn't like it.
Hard no. Hello and welcome to Top Gear Rearview. I'm Geoff, that's Brady. Tonight we start off Series 2, Episode 1, which is the first episode you can get for free on Amazon Prime Video.
This episode aired on the 11th of May, 2003. The star in a reasonably priced car is Vinnie Jones, and this is the first episode of Top Gear to include Clarkson, Hammond, and May.
Woo!
Woo!
Our segments tonight are a look at the new Smart Roadster as compared to some contemporary convertibles. So a look at Hammond's worst cars. The review of the Bentley T2, a used car review, but not by Mr. May. And I guess it's the only appearance, but I thought it was the first and only appearance of the Bowler Wildcat.
The Bowler Wildcat comes back, right?
I don't think it does. Anyway, we'll get to that. But because I looked into it, because this segment's kind of burned into my brain for some reason.
This is really burned into my brain too. There's no way it doesn't come back.
I swear, I might have missed it. It might come back, or there might be a different bowler because they have made some model sense. But looking at the pages for this, everything that I saw only referenced season 2, series 2.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes, the Smart Roadster, to which my wife commented. She watched this episode with me. Mm-hmm. Oh, Smart's a company.
All right.
Yeah, because
good brand recognition.
Yeah, I mean, in the United States, it's the Smart car. It's just.
Yeah,
just the car. We don't get anything but the 4.2.
Yeah, This one never made it over.
No, this one never made it over. So this is another offering. It is the Honda del Sol of the Smart car.
It really is. I'll give you that. It came, so they did the whole thing on the Roadster. It also, I'm glad they showed it at the end. It comes in the Roadster Coupe, which is so much more useful and I think way better looking personally.
Yes. So the first comment I have on my notes is that Jeremy says that this thing looks sensational, and I'm like,
no, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. But the Coupe does. It's got the hard, essentially like hard fastback. It looks really nice.
It looks good. I really do like the back end of that car.
Yeah, and it doesn't have I guess we'll get to it later. Does it have the crappy fabric top?
I think it has the exact same top.
All right, well then, lame.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Yeah, because the top. I mean, we'll talk about it now. I guess it does have that weird little. It's like a super sunroof made of fabric, and then it has like you can just take off the side channels that are essentially your connection between the what would I guess be the B pillar or the roll hoop and the windshield.
So it's both a sunroof and a T-top because you have pieces you have to take off, but it also opens on its own. One comment that Jeremy said that the car has a lot of headroom. He's a tall guy, but it has like 4 inches of headroom. I'm like, it's because there's no roof. It's a curtain. Yeah. You've got a curtain above your head.
Scroll it back and you got so much more.
So
the rest of the atmosphere.
Yeah, there's quote unquote a lot of headroom, and it is quote unquote a convertible in my mind.
I guess. Now this was it was available from 03 to 06. It was a 700cc 3-cylinder turbo putting out 80 horsepower.
80 horsepower, 13,500 pounds.
Yeah. Now that was one other interesting is they said you can get it in left-hand drive for 3,500 pounds cheaper. Under 10 grand.
I guess this is kind of tailored towards the European market, and they did a limited run of UK.
That must be it. Interesting though, because I mean, it's 13.5. It's that's a little high for this. 10, not crazy.
3,500 difference between them is insane, though.
It really is. That's a third of the price of the car.
Yeah, that's a huge tax on the people of the United Kingdom for this car. If you wanted it, you're getting screwed.
Did you know they made a Brabus version of this one?
What?
Yeah, it had 99 horsepower. I gotta imagine that's one of the worst Brabus that exists. They do make a Brabus version of the Smart 4.2 as well, and I can't even be bothered to look at how powerful it is.
Oh my god, that's gotta be so. At least this car had reasonable sized tires and stuff besides the 4.2.
I gotta imagine this was reasonably fun to drive, and I think Clarkson did say it's not terrible. Now the thing is, I think it was really meant to compete against the Miata, and it wasn't cheap enough to be really competitive against the Miata.
Yeah, it probably wasn't good enough either.
Well, yeah.
It's very slow. It's just not good enough to do that.
It's not a good car.
It's super slow. He said that
You go from 0 to 60, but only just. I tried timing it, but after 11 seconds, I got bored.
over 11 seconds because he got bored of timing it. So what can you expect out of a 0.7 liter engine? I mean, I don't know what the MX-5 or Miata comes with, like, at the bare bones, but
It would have been a 1.6 or a 1.8. At that point, it would have been a 1.8, probably in the neighborhood of 130 horsepower.
which is good.
Twice.
It's a good amount of
Twice.
horsepower.
Yeah, a good chunk more. At least half again as much.
It's really difficult to compare to those, but that's not what they compared it to, Jeff.
No.
They compared it to the Volkswagen Beetle Cabriolet with another garbage cloth top.
Oh, I mean, that cloth top, like, it's reminiscent of the old school ones where they kind of fold up weird. Just like a little tumor on the back, but okay.
I mean, I guess when you're making a car that small, you can't really
There's nowhere to put it.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide it. And then the Ford Street Ka, which is a car we've mentioned before, apparently is not a super mini. It's a micro car. I don't know what the class these cars are in, but it's very small. Now, the Ford Street Ka...
Yeah, the Ka is definitely a micro. I'd say that the Beetle's kind of its own thing.
The Beetle's bigger than that, yeah. It's probably in that quote-unquote super mini range.
Yeah. I didn't realize they made a convertible version of the Ka.
Either did I.
But I didn't think it looked terrible. I was like, okay.
I think the Ka has its own look on its own,
For sure.
which isn't that great, but it's so, like, I've walked by them in the UK, and, like, I felt like I could just step over it. Like, literally just, like actually step over a car. Like, it's, like, really low, and it's really narrow. Like, I could just go, and just, like, and just step right over it. So the Cabriolet just brings that top down even more, and I can just jump right over it. Be fine. I'm like Kobe.
Yeah, exactly. I pulled some interesting side stuff on this. Did you know there's a company called Smart that uses the Smart? Can you guess what that is?
How do you spell the Tukey?
It's UKI, basically Smart plus UKI.
Are they in any way related to cars?
Yeah.
Oh.
So it is a modification company for the Smart.
Oh, okay.
And Smart 4.2.
So what is your question to me again? Now I'm all confused.
What do they do? What do they
to the car?
What do they modificate?
They drop an LS1 into it.
No, that'd be crazy. I don't think it'll fit. They drop a 1300cc Hayabusa engine, which is
how
like
about that?
the one that they used all last season in all the fast cars.
Yeah.
Which basically like triples the power.
Yeah, and the revs, and it just spools up so fast and stuff.
Yeah, they have a hilarious website which I'm gonna post in the show notes because like I don't think it's been updated since like 2008. And
It's got some spinning world gifs in it.
No great gifts, but it's the prices were not unreasonable, but it does not appear they still exist. Their website does. Somebody's paying that domain name.
GoDaddy's getting their money's worth.
Now I have an interesting stat on this car as well. You got to guess? You want to hazard a guess at what the warranty average payout was on one of these?
So the car cost
13.5.
13.5.
Now the problem is I have this one in euro because that's what it came in, and I don't know the exact conversion.
Is it more than the cost of the car?
It is not that much, I don't think.
Okay.
Unless
well,
you're
then I'm
way
gonna,
better than.
I'm gonna say 10,000 euro.
No, 3,000.
3,000. Okay.
But 3,000 euro per car. This was a financial failure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, especially since the one that they're selling in Europe only costs 10,000 pounds.
Yeah, I mean that's a third of the price, I guess. Again, I don't know euro to pounds exactly, but gotta assume they're not too far off.
Yeah, that's bad. I wonder if that's just because they break or they crash or what. I don't know. I guess it was warranty. It's they break.
Yeah, something's breaking. Yeah, I don't know. They didn't really break it down into what it was that was causing it, but it was a really high average payout.
That's not good.
No, so much. So, yeah, I'm kind of bummed they didn't do a lap in this. I'd be kind of curious what it would.
I would have liked to have seen a lap. Clarkson's view on it is no boot, bad gearbox, a bunch of fun to drive. So it's got that. The guys on Top Gear really like that roadster feel where you're just chucking it around. It doesn't matter. It's light and nimble, kind of like what everyone says about the MX-5. But this one has no boot. The MX-5 has a boot. This one has a bad gearbox. The MX-5 has a good gearbox. So just buy an MX-5.
Exactly. I totally understand that. I mean, slow car fast, like just whipping a slow car as hard as you can, which you can do in traffic, is like you can drive these things foot to the floor every day. And I respect that. It's fun. And I can totally understand why they like it.
That's one thing I did like driving the Fiesta, is taking roundabouts on my way to work. I felt like I was going around Le Mans.
You just about step out some of the tires, you're just matting it, and it's like you're not going that fast, but it feels like you are.
You might think I'm changing lanes in the roundabout. No, I'm just understeering outwards.
I'm just coming in hot.
There's an interesting take, and this is kind of going back to the stereotype of these small cars, specifically the Smart, the VW, and the Sport Ka. Those are the girl cars, they say. So,
I guess, yeah.
And any guy, they asked the studio audience, no guy wanted to raise their hand that they would buy one. But the Miata is the manly car in that scenario.
Really is.
It really is. So it's just an interesting look, because I think even they say at some point that the Miata is kind of a girly car in a bad.
Oh, I think they say it 3 or 4 times at least. But which, I mean, I don't know. It's a small convertible coupe. I understand. It's much like a V6 convertible Mustang is a girly car, but a lot of guys drive them.
Well, that's right.
They threw these 3 up on the cool wall.
They threw them way up high on the cool wall.
Yeah, both
literally
the Beetle,
and figuratively.
Yeah, the first height trope against Mr. Hammond. The Beetle and the Street Car were both in the cool category. Beetle, I said no. Street Car, I said maybe. And then the Smart Roadster into Sub-Zero, which I said hard no.
Is that what it says in your notes? Does it say hard no?
Yeah.
It's not just like no, like you trace over it a few times to emphasize it?
No. Hard no. I bet it's fun to drive, and then it breaks down in 15 minutes, and you have to spend the first 1,000 or take the first 1,000 in warranty payout.
That's exactly right. They while we're on the cool wall, just real quick, they talk about the Renault Aventine, which they talked about in the previous series. Did not win their award for weirdest looking Renault, but they only sold 263. Oh my god.
That was, they said they scrapped it, which is a bummer because I really like that car. That's like the kind of quirky car that I would like if it was sold over here. I'd probably buy a used one.
Oh my god. They posited that there's about 50 dealerships, 60 dealerships in the UK, so like they only sold like 200. Yeah. Because 263 apparently includes the ones that are on the floor at the dealership. That's a bad day. That's a bad day.
Oof. Sorry, Renault.
But that leads us into our next segment, Geoff.
Yes, sir.
They added this love-hate wall, which I don't remember seeing ever again.
Nope, me neither.
Okay, so they have this love-hate wall. I don't really remember what they used it for, but what it led to was Hammond listing his 5 least favorite cars. Not his 5 favorite, but his 5 least favorite. We're going to run through his list real quick. His number 5 worst car is the AMC Pacer, which is a pretty bad car.
I always liked that it had asymmetrical doors. Some about that in my brain was like, that's a good feature for.
Well, that's one thing that they brought up, that even its doors aren't even the same. They said.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to translate that to one right now. One of our friends who I hope listens to this drives it's a Hyundai Veloster, and that one it's not asymmetrical doors, but it has 3 doors. It only has a back door on the passenger side, and I kind of like that's the modern day version in my opinion.
Well, it's like an RX-8. It only had on one side too, I believe.
No, that had freestyle doors. That had both sides.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4 was the Peel. I think they just said Peel. Later on, I think we see it as the Peel P50, I believe.
That sounds right.
Is the car, and this is the car that the door opens on the front. So like the whole front of the car opens. It's a flat front. The door opens. It's kind of useless.
It's like a BM. Yeah. Go ahead.
I find this car to be way too cool and way too different to be a top 5 worst cars.
Completely agree. It's like a BMW Isetta, but like dirty cheap. It's like the poor man's Isetta.
Exactly. So I disagree with that one. AMC Pacer. Okay, fine. That's good. I could put that
I'll get on the board.
Yep. Number 3, the Vauxhall Vectra, which they hated on every episode.
It is the current, like it is the second series equivalent of the Morris Minor.
And the number 2 is the Suzuki X90.
Oh my god, I hate these so much.
Yeah, you don't like those very much?
Oh, not a fan.
All right, well, that one sits well with Geoff. And then the number 1 is an old Nissan Sunny, which I believe probably translates pretty well over to the Nissan Sentra here in the U.S.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So the Nissan Sentra is his number 1 worst car, and he torches it with a jet-powered dragster.
You know what was amazing to me about that segment is they had this giant fire coming out, enough so that it like tipped the car. And that thing didn't move. Like it did not appear to be anchored. It appeared to just it was doing a brake stand or something, and just like I couldn't believe that the Roadster wasn't scooting forward a little bit.
At the end of the episode, they torch a Caravan, which is the start of the Caravan hate on Top Gear, and I was so excited about it. I wrote in big words in my notes, Caravan. But it started rolling at the end of that one.
Yeah, it did. So I don't think he was anchored. I think that was just like that's how much grip those giganto tires have, which is
I'm really
crazy.
surprised they have brakes strong enough to do that, because that's not really a high priority. You got parachutes and stuff for that.
Yeah.
So that was Hammond's top 5 worst car. He's the only one who gives a list.
Yep.
The Pacer, the Peel, the Vectra, the X90, and the Sunny. Geoff and I have come up with our own lists of our top 5 worst cars, and I am so excited to hear yours. So we'll do 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. Okay.
That sounds fair.
All right. So I am talking now, so you get to go first.
Oh, come on. I was going to go first. Okay. First one, Jeep Compass.
Jeep Compass.
Jeep Compass.
That is such a bad car. That's
A, it is ugly as hell.
Uh-huh.
B, it's not at all a Jeep.
No.
It's just like the whatever Dodge of the time. I think it was a Nitro or something.
Yep.
That chassis with a Jeep badge on it. And C, it is the only car I have ever really crashed, and it didn't do well.
Oh, yeah? You got a rental car?
Not my fault. I'm taking, I'll put that out there. But for what happened, for the amount of damage and the fact that no airbag happened, I was like, no. This is a car I never need to be back in again. And I hope my friends Lindsay and Matt are not listening to this. And if they are, I'm sorry. I don't hate your car as much as I hated that one, but I'm not a fan.
That's funny. It's such an abomination of the Jeep brand. That's
it's like it is the poster child of like of Chrysler basically saying like, nope, Jeep is not what it was.
All right. My number 5 is actually 2 cars, but it's really just one, but it's kind of the idea. My number 5 worst car is the Mustang 2.
Oh, that's a good one. I saw that on a few lists. I was kind of perusing lists when I was setting this one up.
I didn't look up any lists.
Oh, Christine, actually, my wife mentioned this one, and I agree. The Mustang 2 is definitely an abomination.
So, along with that, another car that I hate, it's not related to the Mustang 2 in any way. It's both made by Ford, but it's the Bronco 2. I hate the Bronco 2. So, it's both of the 2 cars that Ford's ever made, awful. But the Mustang 2 is the one that got me on it.
I'll give you that.
It's such a crappy 70s looking gremlin / Pinto looking piece of crap.
Yeah. Ugh, I agree. Okay.
Ugh, indeed. All right, number 4, Geoff. What's yours?
Hummer H3.
Oh, all right. Well, that's my number 3.
Hey, all right. Obviously we think alike. It's nothing more than it's on the truck chassis, the Colorado and GMC Canyon, Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyon, compact truck platform, modified. They're just not Hummers at all. I've driven an H1, and that's a unique car and a lot of fun, and it's just definitely not that. Now, the interesting sidebar to that, the H3T, that truck, I would totally take one of those. I would buy one of those.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Something about that, I'm like, I can get behind this.
Skip my number 3 was the H2, the H3, and the H3T. I hate all of those. I just think they're stupid. They're just stupid cars. They look bad. I'm sure they drive awfully.
Awful.
The just awful. The
My,
H3T is such just a
Oh,
stunted.
I like the H3T for reasons I cannot explain.
Yeah, there's no way to explain it. All right, my number 4, and I think any list in the United States would be remiss without it. And I mentioned the Mustang too. The Ford Pinto, ugly car, a little bit, it's a tad bit of a splody, just a little,
just a little bit of death and destruction.
Little explody, but just overall a bad idea, bad car, bad for the company, bad for America, bad for the driver, bad for anyone in the general vicinity, bad car.
Yeah.
And so I'll just quickly do my number 3, which was the H2, H3, H3T, for reasons we just talked about. So, Geoff, what is your number 3?
The Lexus SC430.
This is specific. The Lexus SC430?
Yes. Now, take a look. Google that. At this, while you do this, I will say there is a segment many seasons from now where I believe, I want to say it's James and Jeremy buy one for Hammond. It's just... It's I have a bitter spot in my heart for follow-ups to cars that are just complete letdowns. And this followed up the SC300 and 400, which shared the same platform as the Toyota Supra. So you could get those with the 2JZ or with the 1UZ, which is one of the better little Lexus V8s. So they were like this. It was this awesome sports coupe that they then took. You could get that thing with a manual too, if I remember correctly. And then they made it into this, which is a just garbage car that you couldn't get with a manual. And a friend's mom had one of these, and I always was just like, it's just a terrible car.
It looks like they're directly competing with the SLS, the Mercedes.
Oh, for sure. I completely agree.
That's exactly what they're going for. Small, 2-door, hard top cabriolet, really. And yeah, it just looks bad. Yeah, I don't like that.
I know, and you'll see that. I have at least one more on my list here that's just it falls from grace so hard. It was such a cool car and a unique car, and it falls into this ugh.
Okay, all right.
What you got?
So my number 2, and this might raise some hackles, and it's the Chevrolet Corvette C4.
See, I'd go C3, but I'll give you C4. C4 is ugly.
I hate the C4.
You don't like the saw blade wheels?
Everything about the styling and the interior, and the only thing good about it is it's got an LS motor. It's the only thing good about it. Everything else about it is garbage. I think these were probably the first ones to mainly come with automatics. I'm gonna stop you real quick. There was never an LS motor. There was an LT motor in the C4. All right, sorry, LT motor.
How embarrassing!
That's terrible. Everyone on here knew what I was talking about.
Yes,
except for me. The Corvette, when it came out, and then the C1, 2, 3 are all some of the most amazing looking American cars I think that anyone has ever made. And then the C4 comes out, and Chevrolet decided to take this iconic astronaut-driven Corvette Stingray and wipe any body contour out of it, any style lines, and just poop smear a wedge right down the front. Just it's the most 80s crappy piece of car I've ever seen, and it's taking them till the mid-2010s to make something that looks like it should have been a successor to the C3.
All right,
nothing they've made until now is any good since then.
I'm going to add an asterisk to yours. The LT1 version of the C4 was a pretty badass car. Oh, excuse me, not the LT1, the ZR1 version of the C4 was pretty rad.
No, it still looked like a piece of horse shit.
It looked like garbage, but it had a 375 horsepower LT5, and it could do 0 to 16 4.4, which is a rocket at the time.
It's an abomination, like the Mustang 2 is an abomination on the Mustang line. This is Chevrolet's Mustang 2, in my mind.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. I'm sure the Mustang 2 could come with an okay motor as well, but
no, I don't think. I think that one came with. It was the only Mustang to ever be sold with a 4-cylinder, right?
It might have been.
Okay.
All right. That's my number 2. What's yours?
Following in line with my last one, the fall from grace, the 3rd generation Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Oh yeah.
This is the one that was in Too Fast, Too Furious. And it just, you took a car again. I've driven a 2nd gen and I've driven a 1st gen, And they had just this rocket ship of a motor that they had all-wheel drive. You could get them, all-wheel drive turbo from the factory, and you can build these things to crazy numbers. They never run for long. DSMs are notoriously unreliable, but it was such a cool chunk of like car where you could get that or the Talon or the Plymouth Laser. There were a couple cars at the time that were just rad and that are like still formidable cars today. And then it just like fell off a cliff into like, oh, the Eclipse is just a joke now. Like it was, it just dumped all over the place.
Still got the asymmetrical hood though. Not bad.
It does. But yeah, it's in the power numbers coming from the GSX, which was the all-wheel drive turbo version, to the new one, which is a V6 now instead of a turbo 4. They were 210 and 210, so the same horsepower, but it's just you took a motor that was awesome and replaced it with essentially a Chrysler Sebring.
Yeah. This car, the Mitsubishi Eclipse or some variation of that car is ripe. I think right now ripe for renewal.
Oh yeah,
the car market.
Well, Mitsubishi. I feel like they're just dying slowly and aggressively. Like they just turned recently, and I'll put a story in the show note. The Evo badge was always like, okay, there's some god if there's still an Evo, and they just re-released the Evo badge as I think a hybrid crossover. It's just a dagger to the hearts of car enthusiasts.
That's bad. That's really bad. All right, and what is your number one, Geoff?
Number one, and this is a weird one that almost everybody will have to Google. Chevy Uplander.
Chevy. I don't know. I'm gonna have to Google
it. Now this was released in 2004, sold through 2008, and it is, in my opinion, the absolute height of GM cockiness and badge engineering, because they had the Uplander, they had the Saturn Relay, they had the Buick Terraza, they had the Pontiac Montana SV6, and I think there was at least one more, and it just was like. It's like a minivan that looked way than a minivan.
I would have recognized it if you would have said Pontiac Montana. I don't know why that's the one that sticks in my mind. All the other ones you said, like the Buick Terrazzo, no, nothing. No, it doesn't.
The funny thing, I talked this through with my wife, and we were talking about like there's so many bland cars, but this isn't like blandness that really defines it. And Hammond's number one was blandness, and this one to me is like. It's both blandness, but it's also just like, it pisses me off as a taxpayer that helped bail out GM that this existed. And I was like, you were a lazy company.
This is so bad. It looks like they're styling it similar to my number one.
Oh, yeah?
Which is a combination of, like the front end, awful styling. Looks like it's got a similar, my number one is two cars again, but they really are... I mean, they're made by completely different companies, but they really are the same car. It's obviously the PT Cruiser and the Chevy HHR.
That's funny. I had the PT Cruiser on my maybe list, and I did not choose to go with it. I totally understand that.
PT Cruiser. So I went with this through this list with my wife as well, and she kept sprouting out names of like really cheap cars. She's like, "What about the Saturn? What about the Geo Metro?" And all these really crap cars. I'm like, you can't just say a car is bad because it's cheap. You need cheap cars are good for the consumer. They're pretty good for the manufacturer if they do it right. How many Saturns did you see out there? Everyone bought a Saturn because they were cheap. That's the reason they bought them. You can't really dock them for making a subpar cheap car because it's cheap. Now, when you're paying however much you're paying for a damn Chevy Uplander, you can discredit someone for it. And the PT Cruiser was... that car for me, and then the I guess the quote unquote response from Chevrolet, which was the HHR, was just oh my god, they're just the most.
Oh man, you're hitting close to home because I have relatives that own both of those.
Well, your relatives own pretty terrible cars.
I love my father. He's got a PT Cruiser GT convertible, and
that's the one that's got the little kids push toy roll bar on it, right?
Oh my god, yeah. And it has been one of the least, like, the stuff that wears out. He wore out wearing wheel bearings at 30,000 miles, and it was like, wow, how does that happen? But to be fair, so that has the SRT4, the Neon SRT4 drivetrain, which is a 230 horsepower turbo 4. It's not a bad motor, but like the body roll on that car, it's like, I'm gonna roll this thing over.
There's a reason they put that quote unquote roll bar on it. Yeah. No, it's just awful. And I thought about including, and I kind of like it a little bit too much to put on this list. I thought about including the Plymouth Prowler, which was really the start of this
the kind of retro
style trend. It was the Prowler. The Prowler came out. Everyone
really
was like, "Oh my god, this car is amazing." They're like, "Yeah, it's going to be $90,000." They're like, "Oh, I don't know about that."
And it comes with an automatic and a V6, but it was the first car to have factory 20s.
I'm not sure about that. It's the first car to have factory 20s. Holy crap!
Yes, sir.
Breaking their way through the
Breaking the
barriers there.
mold.
Everyone's like, I don't know about the Prowler. And they're like, how about this? This costs $3 and will last you 5 minutes. They're like, PT Cruiser, PT Cruiser, PT Cruiser.
Oh, they're so bad. The HHR also came in like a fancy version, the SS, which that one put out 260. I have not driven that one, and I completely agree though. What
was the truck version of the HHR?
The SSR. That was not the truck version of it, but that was like, I know what you're talking about. And oh god, I hate that car.
It's pretty bad. All of those are wrapped up into my number one. So if you guys agree with our list, disagree with our list, please, it'd be awesome to see what you think the worst car of all time is. Please post it to our Facebook page.
Yeah, post your top fives. I want to see what everybody else thinks. I really want to see
top five worst cars. That'd be great. Facebook.com/Top Gear Rearview. We will argue with you all day, or just completely agree.
Disagree
with you.
Flat out.
Or we might just completely agree with you. But I really want to see what other people's lists are. And if you disagree with, I'm looking at my Corvette C4. If you disagree with the Corvette C4,
you're gonna get some.
Well, they can suck it. This is a terrible looking car.
Fair enough. All
right. Well, that was a lot more fun than I expected to be. I'm glad I suggested that.
That was a good segment.
So, Geoff, let's talk about, up to this point, the worst interview ever on Top Gear. The star in a reasonably priced car. So, last season, the worst interview was TPT, Tara Palmer.
TPT was pretty rough.
That was a bad interview, but I felt like it's because she was in character. Yep.
Yeah, agreed.
This is Vinnie Jones, who was apparently a pretty famous football player in the UK.
Yeah, I'd heard that. I didn't know much about it.
Who has been in a lot of movies that I really like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch, and he was awesome. Awesome.
Gone in 60 Seconds. He's one of my favorite characters.
That's exactly right. And, well, he was Sphinx, right?
Yeah. And I actually looked up his quote, and I half want to recite it, but I won't.
Okay, all right.
It's too long.
So Vinnie Jones, who's been in a lot of good movies, been a big soccer player, just a terrible interview.
I have no notes.
Just short answers. It was bad. It was a bad interview. They did a little gag. They went over and smashed a watermelon in a Smart Roadster door, just like he does in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. They do talk about his car, though. They talk about his first car, which was a red Mark IV Cortina, which apparently broke down right away. Yep. And so he just abandoned it. That was the whole story of the car.
It's not a good story, and it's not a good car. It's just
bad interview. Vinnie Jones, love your movies. I guess you're a good soccer player and stuff. He did a 150.
Yeah, keep sphinxing it up, and don't talk, and 153, like you said.
One of my favorite lines.
Average time, big man.
One of my favorite lines from Snatch is when the guys are robbing him, and he's like, "It's because your gun says replica down the size, and mine says Desert Eagle .50. It's like, he's about to f*** you up. He did a 153 in the dry. That's all we have to say about that.
Yep, moving on. Next segment, finally, Mr. May.
James May is here, looking extremely James Mayish, wearing a full suit with a shoddy haircut. He looks old, even though he's a lot younger than he is at the end of the series. But yes, this is the introduction. I thought it was a little bit of they don't really say anything. Up until this point, they haven't said anything about Jason Daw not being there. And they haven't said anything about James May being here. And
they just say new series, new presenter.
New series, new presenter, James May, who's a complete idiot. That's what they say.
Which I can appreciate. That. I mean, that's just okay, there we go. That sets the tone for a while.
This is really getting the relationships in now.
Get it going.
I thought it was interesting that James immediately starts doing used car stuff.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they were like, okay, people still want to know about used cars, but not used 206s. We want used Bentleys.
I mean, I suppose they do.
I don't want to use Bentley, but I don't really want a Bentley. He does the Bentley T2, which is the same as the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, and uses the same 6.75 liter V8 as the Arnage, but apparently it's way slower.
It's like grandpa's cars.
It's a grandpa's cars for sure.
Yeah, he said he bought it for 14,000 pounds, I guess.
And his was
used.
expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7 to 8 regularly.
Yeah, because it's got all sorts of original parts on it, or well maintained. It's good maintenance record, which
good factory replacement parts, and honestly, like 7,000 to 8,000 pounds. I guess that would be okay, maybe not. I guess that'd be $14,000 to $16,000 over here. I was going to say
too much.
It is, yeah. If it was 10, if you get a $10,000 Bentley in the States, I might be like, I'm going to make that bad decision.
Yep. As a Land Cruiser guy, $17,000 will buy you a very well renovated FJ60 or 62, maybe even with a 350 swap in it. I
saw one of those for 10 today. Anyway,
there we go. 1.7 of those.
Yes. Now the interesting thing, Mr. May is known in later seasons to be a very practical guy. Like, he likes his practical cars, and he is, the down to earth
Fiat Panda for like the rest of the series.
Oh yeah. At this point, he claims, and I think it's a lie, that his Bentley T2 is his only car.
He claims that it's his only car and that he has to rent a garage to park it in.
7 miles from his house.
7 miles from his house.
That's how far work is for me.
None of these things are true. 7 miles is like a 3-day trek in the UK.
James May is lying.
Just liar. He does say,
"So, it's rubbish to drive. I'm going slower than you, and yes, I look like a failed porn star. But I am in my own Bentley."
And I think that's a good quote.
It really is. He was complaining about 15 miles per gallon, and I was like, you know what? That's not that bad. That's like what Christine's Flex got. That's like way better than my van gets.
That's a big engine for 15 miles a gallon.
It really is.
I was expecting like 5 miles a gallon.
Yeah, I'd expect almost like very low, like double digits or high singles.
6.75 liters is a lot of gasoline.
So big. But apparently it has a giant tank because it's 80 pounds to fill it.
Gas is pretty expensive over there.
Fair enough, yeah. But I wonder what it is. I'm sure that'd be something that'd be a little hard to find. I'm guessing it's probably a 20-gallon tank or so.
Well, that's it. They kind of prod at him a little bit about the fact that it's his only car, but this is our first introduction to James. Oh, I also commented that the intro music to his segment was the Always Sunny in Philadelphia music, so that's good.
Nice.
Yes,
yeah, it was kind of a pretty bland segment, but I think he did a fine job. He was, showing he's okay.
It was, I don't know if it was because it was James May, but I felt like the segment was way better than any segment that Daw did.
I think Daw was like a little too, he never had the like stanky sense of humor like the rest of the guys do. He always felt a little too, like, I don't know. I think I give him more credit than you do. He always seemed too chipper and too genuine, and everybody else is like, really?
It's just not stanky enough.
You stank it up a little, bro. But the nice thing, and I was really happy to see this, is he rolled straight from the Bentley and then came in as part of the news and did just fine in there.
He did awesome in the news. This was the first news segment that was funny. There was banter going back. I wrote good banter going back and forth. James is giving the beans to Jeremy for all sorts of stuff.
As you do and as you should do.
Yeah, but they bombshelled to the news. They said, on that bombshell, time for the news. I don't know if you caught
Did
that.
they? I didn't catch that.
They did. They said bombshell to the news. I don't have much to say about the news. I guess they talk about the remake / revamp of the Italian Job.
The Job.
It's just the Job because it's not in Italy.
Having now that it's out, it started in Italy.
It did.
There was some Italy,
and that's how they got back to it. Do you remember him from the Italian Job? Wink, wink. But yeah, they're giving their 2 cents about American Hollywood movies. They talk about the Renault Kangoo, which I wrote down just because it's got a great name, and I think you talked about it as a competitor to the Berlingo Multispace.
Okay.
They talk about the Saab 9.3, which is just a Vectra underneath.
But that's the one where they will later talk about it, how Saab actually was like, we're going to change half the parts. The Yeah, as Saab does. The color on the 9.3, love it.
Yeah, you like that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tease at the iconic now, my favorite Lamborghini of all time, the Lamborghini Gallardo. I think
That's your favorite?
Oh, I think it's perfect. White Spider V10.
Okay. So compare at the time you had your Murcielago and your Gallardo, and I think the Gallardo is far and away the better of the two. I never liked the styling of the Merc that much. I liked it a lot, and I think it was Transporter 2. But that's about it. Whereas the Gallardo, I think it's holding up a lot better.
The Murcielago I always thought was a little fat. The Gallardo is just as slim and svelte as it needs to be, but still has all the styling cues. It's like they took the Murcielago and then they just made it better. It's like, this is good, let's just make it better. And then put take 2 cylinders out. That's about it. Yep. But I want to talk about the banter that the guys had. It was really great. You should check out this episode. And then talking about the Gallardo, which is my favorite Lamborghini. I don't know, the new Aventador and the new ones are coming out with, they're pretty slick.
See, I like the Huracan a little more than I like the Gallardo, but I think the Gallardo, compared to what it was there at the time, the bigger V12 one, the Merc, I take a Gallardo.
Yeah, all right, there you go. All right.
They kind of segue this oddly into that fake Ferrari.
They have I guess
a kit car.
And what you would have here in the States, my neighbor across the street ran a kind of rundown used car lot, and he drove home a Ferrari one day, but it wasn't. It was a Fiero.
Yeah,
it's a body kit for a Ferrari. But they don't really talk much about it. I guess they talk about the fact that it might be copyright infringement, I suppose.
And it drops your insurance by 75%.
Well, it's because it's not actually a Ferrari. It's really slow.
Fair enough. I don't know if the 1,200 quid was for his MR2 or for his fake Ferrari, or I guess real Ferrari version.
True. But that does bring up a conversation about did they do it in the news, or they do it in reference here with the Lotus Esprit, and they're trying to copyright or trademark? Was it trademark?
I think it was trademark.
Shape of the Esprit.
Yeah, that was interesting. I think that was the news, and it might have kind of bounced between the two. But yeah, we teased this a little in the last episode, and they said they got a mystery fax, and apparently in 2002, this is what Lotus was doing as their sort of marketing thing. Just faxing all the numbers and sending them basically a picture of a car with a phone number, and you call the phone number, and they say, what is that? And if you say a Lotus, apparently, I don't know, that goes towards their yes column.
It's their case to show that this is a recognizable and vital to the Lotus brand. It's legal. I don't even know if that's true or not, but it's kind of a legal thing.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, like, the Lotus Esprit is a wedge, as are many Ferraris, as are many Lamborghinis, as is the Vector.
And the aforementioned Fiero.
Yeah, so many cars are wedges. You can't trademark wedge.
Nope. No, look at how many wheels does my car have? We'll take a look at this picture. Well, that's an F-150. Ha! It also has 4 wheels. Therefore, we own 4 wheels.
Yeah. Obviously, that didn't pan out.
No. And, thank God, I suppose.
What a weird way to go about it, though. Just random, just spam fax.
Yeah.
I guess email hadn't caught on yet.
All right, so I guess that leads us into the Bowler Wildcat, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Wildcat.
Yeah, this vehicle is right up my alley. I love this thing.
Yeah, this one, for like I said, like we said in the beginning, this just stuck in my brain as I remember this segment.
Yeah, I thought that they've done another one since now, but maybe they haven't. But yeah, this sticks in my mind as well as being a classic Richard Hammond. They've got to have done another one. I guess we'll find out, Geoff. We're doing all the episodes. We'll get there.
We really will.
When we get there, we'll link you back to this one where we can't think about it.
Yeah, I'm poking around right now, and I got nothing. Everything says just Series 2.
All right. Well, the Bowler Wildcat is really it's really like a Baja style vehicle, yeah, a Baja 500 Dakar.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's yeah. I mean, it's a desert racer.
Yeah, it's not. It's like it's kind of halfway between like a souped up, hobbyist style 4x4 and a full on trophy truck. I don't know if it has the all of the features, all of the flex, all of the suspension travel as like a trophy truck for the Baja, but it's pretty much there.
Yeah, agreed. Interestingly, like my brain never quite put together that it was a Defender. And then they said that, and I was like, well, duh, it's a Defender. Look at it, it's a Defender.
Yeah, it's absolutely a Defender.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just in styling, really, because absolutely nothing on that is taken. It's like,
full new frame, full new body. Like, yeah, it's just like, okay, it's got a Defender grill.
Yeah. They said that it's super reinforced. Hammond said that the roof is so strong that you can put you can start loading up with 10-ton weights and it won't crush it. And I commented on my notes that he says weights plural, so this thing apparently can hold 40,000 pounds on its roof while being fine. No problem.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Yeah, my thought there was like that suspension would just kabloom way, right? But
it's nothing. I guess if you roll it over, maybe that's what they're talking about.
yeah. And they did mention, I believe it was a 40-foot drop onto its nose, and it was totally fine.
It's a long way.
That's a big drop.
What
Apparently
speed
doesn't have airbags.
just drive away. Or a driver. It's not jelly on the inside of his helmet. We'll quote to it, but they make fun of it after the review. But Hammond's throwing this thing around some dirt field track course, and he screams,
I am a driving dog!
Yes, he does.
I thought it was hilarious when it actually came up. But yeah, he screams, I'm a driving god, and Clarkson gives him a bunch of crap about that later on.
As you should.
Yep. But Geoff, this is actually the power lap.
It is, which is super weird. They do have a price, 50,000 pounds, which is
50,000 pounds.
pretty reasonable, I feel.
It's really reasonable. I mean,
yeah,
for all the work put into this,
kick-ass car. Yeah,
it's practically
3 days of welding on the frame alone.
Yeah, practically. I thought it was 3 weeks.
It might have been. I think it was.
Okay.
I don't know. One of the two.
It depends on who's doing it. If you got slow Jim over here, 3 weeks.
Takes his time drinking his tea.
Go get a Ricky. He's gonna get it done quick. Yep, it's 50,000 pounds. It did a lap around the track in 139.4, which is faster than a Bentley Arnage T. So it is this Baja truck is not the slowest one around the track.
And they did not change out tires or anything from what I saw.
They just took that thing and plopped it down. Go.
Yeah, hit the gas, Dig.
I have to say that's the very respectable time.
Very much so, yes.
So it was a dry lap, 50,000 pounds, a 99.4 second lap time. What is your desirability score, Geoff?
I'll go 8 on this guy.
You're going to go 8?
I want this.
This is a 10. This is an absolute 10 for me. Oh, my God. I love this thing.
All right.
That being said, it's a little slow. This is now our third lowest on the Top Gear rear view power rankings. Too slow and still pretty expensive. We gave it the second highest score ever. The only car we gave a higher score is the Pagani Zonda.
What the?
Yeah. Sorry, the Pagani Zonda. Geoff has made fun of me.
Horatio, there's no such person as Horatio Pagani.
Pagani. I'll make it a capital A in my thing here. I even have it written wrong in my list. We both gave that a 10, but this is the next highest rated car.
God, what a garage that would be. A Zonda next to a Bowler.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then, so that made it the third lowest. It is just ahead of the Bentley Arnage T, and just behind the Ferrari 575M Maranello. We really didn't like that Ferrari.
I think I was upset because they phoned it in from the 550 Maranello, but
I mean, it was also super, super expensive.
Yeah,
That's where it falls
that's the
down.
killer. It was the V12 Ferrari Grand Tour at the time, and that is typically the Halo Ferrari.
I'll have to say this is just ahead of the Bentley Arnage T, but it is way ahead. This came in at 91.7, and the Bentley's at 74. So
15 ahead. 17 ahead.
Yep. So this is our power lap for the day. I'm disappointed in its showing, but it is not made for this track. You put this on its real track, it's going to be number one.
It is.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode. It feels like a little bit of a short one, but I think we both agree this was it was a good feel for this is Top Gear, for sure, especially coming out of Series 1.
They've made a few tone changes coming out of season 1 into season 2. They've gotten James May, who immediately contributed during the news with some good banter. They torch a Caravan, which is classic Top Gear.
Oh, yes.
As well as a Nissan Sunny. But yeah, I think our episode will be long because we have our big, long discussion about the 5 worst cars ever. But I thought this was a very good and very entertaining episode. I got to the end of it, and I told my wife that was a great episode. I loved it. This is just skimming through Amazon Prime, just picking an episode. I would have been very happy to come around this one. It's a good one.
Completely agree. And as Brady mentioned, Amazon Prime, they do have all of Series 2 as well as everything, I believe, up to Series 17. So great place to go if you want to watch these episodes and kind of keep up with the podcast.
I have to say, just so everyone knows, we are in no way sponsored by Amazon Prime.
We are not. We are both Prime members.
We pay for the service, and I would recommend it. But they're not paying us. But if you want to, Amazon, just let us know.
Yeah, we'll talk.
But yeah, if you want to follow along, that's a great place to view them. I believe if you're in the UK, or it's probably just the UK, you can watch all of these episodes on BBC iPlayer as well.
Oh, this is news to me. I have no idea what that is. So.
It is their streaming service, and I believe season 1 is not on there, but I think season 2 as well. So Amazon Prime or BBC iPlayer, correct us if we're wrong. Facebook.com/Top Gear Rearview.
Yeah. As Brady mentioned, Facebook, great place to put your top 5 worst cars. I totally want to hear what you guys say. So please throw them up there. If you like this episode, if you like the show, please share with some friends. And it really helps if you give us a review and a rating on iTunes. They're 2 different things, apparently, if you rate in stars and review in words. This episode will come out in the 1st of December, so happy December to everybody. And yeah, if you want, we also offer these up on YouTube, our YouTube channel, which is you can find on YouTube, just searching Top Gear Rearview if you want that in that particular format.
Yep, and points to the first person who sends us an email at topgearrearview@gmail.com with what the styling of our new logo is based on.
Ooh, I like that. Points indeed. All right, buddy. That's all I got for this one. Anything new? Or anything else?
That's it.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll see you next week for episode 2.